Hi and welcome to Australian Gamers Friday Night Podcast. I'm Yug.
And I'm Matt.
Tonight we'll be talking about the PlayStation 3 40 gig version in Australia.
Yes, EA buys Bioware / Pandemic.
And Sonic in Super Smash Brothers. I'm sorry, I mixed up that first little bit for some reason. I don't know why.
I know why.
Why?
Because you're really stupid.
Yeah, you go with that. Okay.
We also should point out that it's not, in fact, the Friday Night Podcast. It's officially, that's the name of it. That's the title, but it's not.
It never actually is. I don't think it ever has been. It has been.
No, it has been a couple of times.
A couple of times, but usually it's either Thursday night. But today, well, it's.
But it's always been intended for publication on the Friday night, hence making it justifiably the Friday Night
Podcast, because people would usually listen to it on a Friday night. Which, if you are, that's a little bit sad, actually.
Yeah, go out.
Yeah, go do something.
Girlfriend.
Jeez,
whatever.
Come on. But yeah, it's now Saturday morning, bright and sunny.
It's actually Saturday, sort of midday.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
So I just.
You have no idea of the world around you, do you?
My blinds are closed, and to be honest, I live.
And you don't have a clock.
Well, no, because where I live, there's street lights and all this kind of stuff outside, and clubs and all this kind of thing. So even in the middle of the day, even in the middle of the night, I still can't really tell what time it is. It just always looks bright through those curtains.
Right. Fair enough.
Yeah. I'll go with that. But
yeah,
anyway.
yeah, it's a lie. But
let's talk about stuff. We just watched a trailer for a game called Wet.
Yeah, it's someone pointed out, I can't remember where, I think it was Kotaku pointed out that the game is called Wet.
Yep.
And the company that makes it is called A2M, which if you don't know what that actually means...
Yeah, that's... Yeah.
You know, you're lucky. But if you do know what that means and the game is called Wet, it's all in all kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean...
Probably accidental, but...
I doubt it. We watched a video, a CG video of the game's Heroine. Heroine
is correct, though. It is ambiguous.
It is, isn't it? And it's her in a bathtub. Which
it starts off with her in a bathtub. The whole thing
ends with her in a bathtub.
And it ends, but there is stuff in the middle. I mean, if the middle part was the water being drained from the bathtub,
yes,
and then in the end it was back, that would have probably been a better trailer. But
probably.
Still.
I don't find anything that impressive about watching a CG of an upcoming game that showcases this is the moves that she'll be doing in the game. Of course, this is just a CG trailer. That's why it looks so cool. It's like that's not the moves she's making in the game. This is the trailer that you...
I get you. Yeah. The principle is that, yeah, she'll have that same level of movement, but surely she probably won't.
No.
But we'll see. I mean, apparently the real appeal of the game is
that it's called Wet.
Whatever. How well she can be controlled and how smooth the control is and the movement and the action that's capable.
And she has guns and a sword.
She has independently targeting guns as well.
Oh, you know a lot about this game.
I've done a little bit of looking into it.
Fair enough. Okay.
She has independently targeted guns, and her upper body and lower body are actually independently controlled as well. So you can be running and shooting independently. That's why she's able to do all that fancy slidey stuff while shooting in different directions.
Am I the only one that when... There's a lot of games now that are starting to use different controllers for upper and lower body, or Skate is another example.
Skate is a good example, yeah.
Which admittedly, once I've got the hang of it, it's great. It's heaps of fun. Yeah. But to hear this, to have people say that, or the sound of it, it just sounds really difficult to get a grasp of.
Well, I mean, the principle isn't that unusual. I mean, when you think of Tekken, for example, the bottom two buttons were her feet, and the top two buttons were... Well, I say her because I players take Nina most of the time.
Of course, that's all you want to look at.
Yeah.
But I get that, but that's just two button pushes as opposed to a joystick with a myriad of actual choices.
A myriad.
It's myriad? Oh,
it's myriad.
Myriad of choices.
But anyway...
It's still close.
Yeah, except one is a reflection, which is what I thought you were talking about. Mirrored choices? What?
Oh,
why were they reflected? What were they reflected in?
I don't know. I'm going to go with whichever one made sense.
The one that you meant made sense.
Yay.
But no one knew what that was. Anyway, I know what you mean, but I think we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, okay.
Because like you said, it worked in Skate. So maybe it'll work in this too, and maybe it'll be awesome.
Fair cool. Let's talk about the stuff that we're actually going to talk about.
Indeed.
Which we'll start off with the PlayStation. That's why I got confused, because it says PlayStation 3 40 gig version. So I went PlayStation 3...
PlayStation
34 gig.
Yeah.
34 gig, which is fairly specific.
Yeah, that's a specific number of gig. But if they were, they'll actually give it in that specific a number of gigs. Maybe that's how much actually it would have.
Right.
Unlike the Xbox 360, which is, 20 gig? But doesn't actually have the 20 gig.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, because a lot of it's already taken up with the goddamn operating system of sorts. So, yeah. Anyway, AJ has been fairly vocal about his opinion on the 40 gig version of the PlayStation 3.
Most people are not backward in coming forward on this. There's a lot of strong opinions.
Yeah. It's now let me get this right. The 40 gig is coming out here and replacing the 60 gig version.
Yes, it is. It is actually totally replacing it.
And this is only happening in Australia.
It would appear that the other markets seem to be big enough to hold both.
Right.
But the 60 gig is being generally phased out. In other markets, they're phasing out the 60 gig as well, but they're replacing it with the 80 gig. In ours, they're
replacing it with the 40 gig.
They're taking out the 60 gig entirely, replacing it with the... No. They've in other markets, particularly in the US, they've replaced the 60 gig with the 80 gig and added a 40 gig. But here, they're just replacing the 60 with the 40. No new stock. You cannot buy a 60 gig here anymore. It is already gone.
This is something interesting that Anna was actually telling me, because she works at Game, is that they had a lot of people that have pre-ordered the
backordered
the PlayStation 3 60 gig, and now they can't get it
because it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist anymore. There's no more stock of it. And I just
the other thing that she said is that they actually have to make up the difference, because there's a $300 difference in price, and the retailers are actually having to make that up.
Yeah, I
wonder if you paid $1,000 for it, and it's now $700, could they just give back the $300? Wouldn't that be the easiest solution, or is that not an option? It would seem maybe that's not an option.
I don't know. There could be contractual something.
Yeah.
More importantly, I mean, we always talk about the publishers or the game companies here. They have their hands tied by the bigger corporations or versions of themselves over in the States or Japan or whatever.
No, you talk about that. I don't give a crap.
Well, I do, because that tends to be the response of most of the publishers and things like that. In this particular case, this is only happening in Australia.
Make words. Make words with your mouth.
Lost for words. Doesn't work on a podcast.
No.
There is no... Do you know what I'm trying to say?
No, I really don't.
Okay.
Remember how I talked about not being psychic a little while ago?
Yeah, vaguely.
See, I used words to express the concept to you that I can't pick things out of your brain.
Sony PlayStation is making this choice as Sony PlayStation Australia. It's not being told to do this by the States or some other version of Sony or stuff like that. It is completely on the heads of Sony Australia. This is happening. And
you
assume
that, but you don't know that.
Why on earth would this...
Well, I mean, Sony US... or Sony International, whoever's making the decision, might well have said, "No, sorry, you guys, your market isn't big enough to justify more than one product. So
I also wonder,
should be a better seller. Off you go."
I also wonder, I mean, how the Australian market is actually doing with the PlayStation 3, and maybe their biggest thing is that this is knocking $300 off the price.
Yeah.
So, and the price point has been probably one of the biggest things I know in the Australian market, sort of thing.
It's been one of the biggest things that have made people say they won't buy it, but people are still buying it. So.
Yeah.
What the hell?
But it doesn't exactly feel like a progression. Anyway, I suppose we can bitch and complain about it all we want.
Well, if I was going to get a unit, if I was going to get a PlayStation 3, it would be this one. There's two reasons for that. One, there's no choice.
It's
anyway.
Cheap. What about the bundle?
What?
The bundle. I
think the bundle's gone now. I think there's a new bundle coming at the end of this month.
Right,
probably, but no one's quite sure what's happening. Sony, one thing I would criticise Sony for this is that they not only have they not told the public what's happening, and people, I think, have a right to know there's a new product coming out next week before they put an order in for one that's $300 more.
Absolutely.
And the other thing that they're not doing, and I think this is even less acceptable, is not telling the retailers who are taking these orders, who might well say, there's a $300 less one coming out soon. Do you want to pre-order that instead, or whatever? So they basically, the retailers really have no idea what's happening, often know less than us because we keep an eye on rumours. And stuff.
Really don't want to piss off your retailers, honestly.
I would think, especially people like Game and EB who don't know.
But
it's one thing if Target are unaware, because they're generally unaware anyway. But
it's a bit of a rock and a hard place, though, sort of thing. I mean, they don't want to announce their upcoming, new things or stuff like that. Yet they.
But why not? A secret everyone knows, except the people who need to know it.
Because it's still it's still a rumor.
It's still a rumor, but it becomes more and more solid as it gets closer and closer to launch. Everyone, we had on the front of the site that it was coming out a week or 2 weeks before it actually came out, and then confirmation after that. So the only people that didn't know, as far as I can tell, are the retailers and consumers attempting to buy it.
Gotcha. Which is kind of the people you want to know.
Exactly, the people that need to know and have a right to know. We have no right to know whatsoever.
No, of course
not.
not.
Any need to know, but it's kind of our job to keep, the public informed.
Is that our job?
That is our job.
Is that what we do?
I'm pretty sure. That's
really?
Something like that, yeah.
God, we need to improve somewhat.
No, we do alright. We keep the public informed. Mostly we keep the public informed of lies and rumours, but still they're informed, and that's all that counts.
Alright, I'll go with that.
The other reason that I would consider the 40 gig as opposed to the 60 gig is it is a substantial reduction in shafting. I did run some numbers. I think you might have seen my numbers, but I ran some numbers to see the difference in price between the Australian price and the US price. And the Australian price of the
40 gig,
the 60 gig.
Yep.
The 40 gig is something like 1.56 times the US price. So basically 1.5 times the US price.
Right.
Now this is after currency conversion as
Sure.
well. So they should be equivalent.
Okay.
Then you'd be happy to add a bit extra on for shipping and blah blah blah.
Okay, yep.
So the 40 gig one is 1.5 times the Australian.
Yep.
The Australian one is 1.5 times the US one.
Yep.
A little more, 1.54 or something.
Yep.
But the 60 gig was 1.798 times.
Almost twice as much.
Not far off twice as much. Yeah.
As the American version of the same console.
Now, you can say shipping and you can say blah, blah, blah.
That's some expensive ships.
And it costs the same to ship a 40 gig one as it does to ship a... Do you get what I mean?
Maybe the shipping was just expensive. Maybe they were shipped over on the... What's that? The
Fairstar, the fun ship
Fairstar,
or
the
something.
fun ship. I think they were shipped over in that.
They were using Kontiki as they actually had a travel guide instead of
for
a shipping
the PlayStation
company.
3s. Yeah,
that was the problem.
See, that's what added the price. And of course, you want your PlayStation 3s to travel here in comfort and have fun.
They were out there on
over.
The banana lounges.
Yeah, actually,
drink with a little umbrella.
They fit kind of well, upside down on the banana lounges, sort of thing. Yeah. Yeah, have the hostesses, so that's why waitresses coming over, bringing them pina coladas and
little mini bar. Using the mini bar, that was also a problem.
Yeah.
Because that adds to the price a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. You just don't consider these kind of things.
No, this is the excess shipping that they've been paying. So now they're actually using a shipping company that just puts them on a boat. Now another thing that I've had an issue with for a long time about the whole the shipping is more here. They're not made in America.
The PlayStation 3s.
They are not made in America. They're made in China. They're shipped to everywhere. Why is that more expensive to here? Do you know what I mean? People say, oh, well, it costs more to ship them over here because we're so far away from America. Great, but we're not far from China where they're made. Why is it so expensive to ship stuff here?
Because they have to go through immigration.
Immigration?
Yes. Unfortunately, they get shipped out. They tried to be cheap and they shipped them over on the dodgy barges and stuff like that.
Boats, yeah.
But they got caught by Border Patrol.
So there's basically a detention centre somewhere full of sad, 3s. Crying PlayStation 3s.
Absolutely.
Up against the fence.
They've actually stitched their the slot where the CDs go in. They've stitched them together, sort of thing, as a protest.
Really?
Yeah.
I've got this image of Abe's Odyssey now.
Really?
Yeah. Didn't he?
So he did. Yes, he did. Although he could still talk, which kind of
defeats the purpose.
I would have thought.
Maybe, and eating would have been difficult too. I'd imagine there'd be a lot of
soup sort of thing, straw through the stitches, and, sort of thing.
Smoothies and things like that. There'd be a lot of smoothies. I
just generally hurt when you try and open your mouth. What about if you want to yawn? And that's sort of
because you can't help it either. And if I was hanging around those guys, I would walk around going, because as soon as you do it,
I know
everyone else has to do it.
So have you ever tried yawning with your mouth closed? Is that possible? Well, it'd be possible if you had your mouth
it's not. It's
together.
Actually a reflex because your body goes, I must yawn, I must suck in. It's like trying to keep your eyes open when you sneeze.
No, you can do it. You can do it. You can keep your lips closed. This is a retarded conversation.
All right, let's get off this.
Anyway, okay. There's
PlayStation.
There's some PlayStation 3s coming across on the Fun
Fair, and now they're coming
and
over.
there's some in detention says this is fact.
This is fact. We've researched this extensively, and
of course, see, this is the thing. The Xbox 360s, they came over in air freight. So
they just freight them over. They just bring them on a barge or something.
Yeah, right.
So let that be a lesson to you if you bring products into Australia. Try our boat.
Make sure you do it the right way.
Do it the right way.
Yeah.
We have laws here.
Absolutely. That's why.
We don't want to see them stuck on the island of Nauru.
That's why the PlayStation 3s in Australia are more expensive. I think that's the official...
That is, we actually contacted Sony and we got this verdict back from them. So we don't think we're just making rubbish up.
No, absolutely not. We wouldn't do that.
Yeah, so I guess my whole point is I see no
What
reason.
is your whole point? What is our whole point?
Well, my point is that I would buy a PlayStation 3 40 gig before I would buy a PlayStation 3
because it's
gig.
$300 goddamn cheaper.
Also, you don't get much less for that. Like the core unit of the 360, for example, you lose a lot. But the
am happy
PS3,
with the 40 gig version coming out. I think that's great. I think that's fantastic.
It's still too expensive.
I just don't think it's cool that they don't offer a version with the 80 gig version. That just doesn't quite make sense to me.
Well, yeah, I guess that's their decision, and it will just mean that we'll run out of hard drive, basically.
Not that there's that much of the store to actually download onto the hard drive.
There's that, but there's more and more coming. No, I mean you look at the
there's more.
The news
There's more and more coming that's available to US users.
Yeah, there's some on Australia as well. Me.
Whatever. Okay, next topic that we're going to talk about is EA buying everyone.
Yeah, there's no one left. It's all about EA and Ubisoft.
I believe
now.
EA is soon. They're just going to be left buying themselves. They're just going to rebuy themselves. They're going to try and sell themselves to themselves.
And then they'll buy themselves.
Yes.
But they'll buy themselves at a lower price.
They'll undercut themselves.
They'll actually undercut their own market
Absolutely.
and buy themselves back for less than they're worth.
Yeah, which kind of doesn't work well for either of them.
Which may either inflate or deflate their share price, I'm not sure. Because people will go, oh, this company's heavily undervalued, we'd better buy it.
Yes.
Or people might say, oh, this company's heavily overvalued and has now lumbered themselves with themselves. You can never tell.
This entire podcast has been way too silly so far.
It has been stupid. We've gone from drunken belligerents to Monty Python in a very short space of time.
EA buys Bioware and Pandemic. Now,
we probably shouldn't say that like they're two companies because they're really not.
Bioware Pandemic. Okay,
yeah, it's
Bioware
pretty much
Pandemic.
a company. Bioware Pandemic.
Pandemic.
Biowemic. Yes.
Biowemic or Panware.
Panware. That's catchy.
Pandware.
Pandware. Pandware.
Either way, I mean, this is interesting for us because Pandemic Studio.
For us.
Because
also.
Pandemic have a studio here in Brisbane,
Indeed.
and we do know a lot of people that actually work there.
Indeed.
And it is a big thing for them.
I'd like to say hello to Jeff at Pandemic.
Do you know a Jeff, or are you just making that up?
I'm sure there's a Jeff.
And he might be listening to this
and
going,
like,
oh my God,
Matt,
I didn't know
thanks,
they knew
Matt.
me.
Yeah, so I think that'd make Jeff's day.
Yeah. People, it makes their day all the time when they think that you know them.
Yes. Whatever.
I don't know. Anyway, it's from the people that work in Pandemic, from what I know, this is actually a really good thing for them. I mean, because EA is a huge company and they feel like they have the job security and all this kind of thing. Like it increases their opportunities to go overseas. But in the same respect, who was it that bought Ratbag? I think last year, was it Midway?
Yeah, Midway.
Midway bought Ratbag Studios over in Adelaide. And then 3 months later closed Midway Studios. Now, I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
Here, but in the same respect, you just can't really tell these days. There's a lot of decent studios that bring out acclaimed games.
The problem is that Midway bought a studio that they didn't really know what to do with at a time when they didn't really have very much money.
Yep.
EA doesn't have that problem.
Although Activision is the largest, they've usurped.
Ooh, well used.
EA.
The right word, the right pronunciation. I'm impressed.
Yes, well, you know.
I like the fact that you looked over at me concerned while saying it as well. Like, you're really, really confident with this one.
It's Activision actually. I think they're a larger publisher and distributor.
Yeah, I think they leapfrog each other randomly. They're one of those companies like Dell and Compaq kind of do the same thing when they have.
Yeah. But EA, of course, is still huge. One thing that
Of course.
I was talking to someone about the other day is, are they going to rename Pandemic to EA blah, blah, blah? Like, I think they buy the developers and rename them
EA
to EA
Aliens.
Montreal. I think, is that Ubisoft?
Montreal,
I can't remember, but they tend to rename
And
it
same
as...
with 2K, like 2K Boston, 2K Australia.
Yeah, great example is Irrational Games in... 2K bought it, and now it's 2K Australia sort of thing. It's like, okay. I would personally think not, because Bioware is
the brand.
a brand in itself,
Yeah.
and they would be a bit foolish to rename that.
Irrational probably wasn't so much. Like, even though
No,
they made something strong with
Bioshock was...
Bioshock's the brand, but
Bioshock's
Irrational
the
never
brand.
really was.
No, but BioWare, on the other
Yeah.
hand, are renowned for their adventure games, so...
I'm not a fan, personally, but that's just me. Like, I still respect the brand.
You didn't like Jade Empire. I
No,
think
not really
Knights
at all.
of the Old Republic...
Everyone loves Knights of the Old Republic.
Made
I
me
never really
moist.
got it. I never played it. That's disturbing in a boy.
Really?
Yeah,
I guess it is.
Depends why you're moist, though. Where you're moist.
Under the armpits. It
Under
made
the
me
armpits.
moist under the armpits.
Awesome.
It did. Because it was that tension and
Yeah,
stress.
because you had your arms
That's
crushed
right.
against your sides.
As I was holding on to the...
Yeah.
As you'll read, actually, in Oracle's flat-out Ultimate Carnage review, actually online, he talks about me and my sweaty hands.
Awesome.
Because we were playing party mode when I was down in Sydney, and I was at his place, the party mode in Ultimate Carnage, and for some stupid reason, 8-player party mode only uses one controller. You have to pass it around.
Interesting.
And
That's
so
an
I'd
odd choice.
play and try and crash the thing. It's like, here you go, and he'd get it, and his hands would practically slip off the controller.
That's so disgusting.
I know. It had this funky smell afterwards as well. I never really mentioned any of this. I was very aware of this too. I was like, I'm in Sydney, I'm running around, I'm hot, I'm sweaty. Yeah, I'll play some games. Here you go, here's the controller. Wow. I wonder if he notices that's really, really sweaty. And then he wrote it into his review, so I'm quite happy about that, to be honest.
Fantastic.
But yeah, anyway, I think it's a good thing from the people at Pandemic. But in terms of the gamers, in terms of us, does this mean anything?
Well, that's the question really EA has to ask themselves. Why did they buy BioWare and Pandemic? Do they just want a cut of the profits, or do they want to dictate you must make a new...
Let's consider this. The next massive game coming out from BioWare in, I think a month's time is Mass Effect.
Yeah.
Now, whether this means that Mass Effect will now have EA tracks, I don't know.
Yeah, will there be Mass Effect Street? That's really the question.
Yeah.
Mass Effect 09. Something that I heard that I thought was probably a pretty good point was that basically what EA are wanting to do with this is not dictate anything or control anything, but rather, because they were already publishing the game, they basically want to take a higher cut of not this game but the next one, because Mass Effect they expect to be successful, and they expect Mass Effect 2 to be even more. They want their profits. Or maybe it was just for Mass Effect 1,
honestly,
like this one they want.
For the $800 million they spent to buy the company, they'd want it to be goddamn profitable.
They obviously expect it to be an investment. I mean, that's a given. That's Captain Obvious stuff.
And of course, you've got BioWare, of course, but you've also got Pandemic Studios that did all the Destroy All Humans games. Although they're not doing Destroy All Humans 3.
No?
They're not developing that game.
Okay.
They're working on other games which they won't tell us about.
No, we've tried. We've really tried.
Well, I have heard down the grapevine, I read online, Batman. They're making the new Batman game.
Yeah, I know. I read the same grapevine.
Okay.
We both have grapevines.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is that one of their secret games?
It was on IGN.
Well, it's not a secret game then, is it? Well, that's what they're doing.
They get crabby about people talking about it, though.
I know.
They really get crabby about it. Because it's supposed to be a secret, but it's not a very good secret.
No, not really.
Yeah, the one for the Joker, I think.
The what?
The Batman.
The Dark Knight.
Is it the Dark Knight? Is that the one with
Heath Ledger as the Joker?
Heath Ledger.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
I nearly said Hugh Jackman, which is different.
Wolverine. It would be cool to be Wolverine and the Joker.
Yeah.
It's like put that in your acting portfolio.
I remember reading about Hugh Jackman and Eric Bana running into each other at a bar, and they're just sitting there chatting. And Jackman said, "Hey, I'm Wolverine, and you're the Hulk." And he's like, "Hey, that's cool."
That is a good point.
Yeah. Probably didn't expect that in their early career.
Although, did you know that there's another Hulk movie, and Eric Bana is not the Hulk?
No, isn't Edward Norton
Edward
the Hulk?
Norton
That could be a whole new level of psychological drama.
Well,
to the
I'd
Hulk.
like to hope so, because to be completely honest, I've never looked at Edward Norton and go, wow, he's a stocky human. He could be the Hulk.
If he was green,
Yeah.
he'd practically be the Hulk.
I know.
So, yeah, I don't
whereas
know.
Eric Bana has a bit of meat on him, sort of.
Yeah,
thing.
I could
Edward
see-
Norton's like...
I could see Edward Norton playing, Bruce Banner, but I couldn't necessarily see him playing.
I don't know.
As long as Bruce Banner was tortured in some way, like
and
he's
sort
got
of
to have some
gangly
demons.
Absolutely. It's Edward Norton, for God's
He's got
sake.
some demons. He's a demony man. But then again, he was pretty big in American History X. In a way.
I guess. I never really was admiring his form in American History X, but
Sure you weren't.
I wasn't.
Whatever.
What?
I don't know.
Sonic in Super Smash Brothers. Well, I think we'll end.
Oh,
on
I
this.
also want to point out it's not.
God.
No. I was getting somewhere significant
Okay,
with this.
Go.
I saw the correction that it's actually not Super Smash Brothers Brawl. It's just Smash Brothers Brawl, which is a good thing because the Super always annoyed me.
But so it's not Super anymore.
No, it's no longer Super, which is good because the Super
But
was.
it's not good. That means it's just normal.
It's just normal. I'm afraid it's been downgraded.
No.
It's no longer Super.
Oh, I'm not going to buy it then. That's crap.
But yeah, the Super that they used to put in games, particularly Super Smash Brothers, was for the Super Nintendo. So putting that on GameCube games...
Actually, admittedly, that did make sense with the Super Nintendo, because you had the Nintendo.
Yeah,
and
that was
Super
the point,
Nintendo,
was to
so
say these are the Super versions
that
of
would
these
explain.
old Mario.
Of course.
Super Mario.
It's just Mario Galaxy. It's just
Yeah, exactly.
Metroid Prime. So they're phasing out the Super.
Yeah, and so they should, because it was silly and pointless.
I like
And
that.
super as a word. I mean,
Super.
It's super.
That's
How's your
super.
day been? Super.
Super.
But yes, so that it's not that. But anyway,
Okay.
you're still right. It still has Sonic in it.
It's been delayed, hasn't it?
It's been delayed till early 2008, which here in Japan, which here will be 212. I worked it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, we should get it
We
along
should-
with the
we should-
PlayStation 4.
Excellent. Okay. We'll start hanging out for that.
Yeah, that should be awesome.
Okay.
I don't know when it's coming here. I haven't read any.
Anyway,
sort
look,
of-
frankly, Sonic and Super Smash Brothers. Okay,
Sonic-
Sonic and Smash Brothers. There you
Nice,
go.
yep.
Melee? No, Brawl.
Brawl.
It's I'll be completely
What's
honest
next?
with you. I never really got into
Super
the
Smash Brothers
the
Melee.
Smash Brothers
And there's Super Smash Brothers Brawl. What's after?
Smash
go
Brothers Derby.
No, that's driving.
Well, I don't know.
No, when you go from, you've got a melee, that's one sort of fight, and then you've got a brawl, that's another sort of fight. What's
War.
after that?
Smash
War?
Brothers War.
Battle.
Smash Brothers Total War.
Cool.
Yeah, so they use the Rome Total War engine.
Yeah.
But it just has a whole bunch, all the
Like
Pokemon.
Bells and Sonic. Oh, Pokemon everywhere.
Yeah.
Pokemon as far as the eye can see.
Yeah, that's right. See, actually, here's the thing. You know, in video game franchises, you've only got one Sonic, right?
Yeah.
But you've got or only one Mario.
Yeah.
But there's a hell of a lot of turtles.
Yeah,
and
there's
Goombas and
turtles
stuff like that.
aplenty.
So if it was like a Rome Total War engine, Sonic or Mario would be your generals, but you just
yeah,
have
you're
armies.
behind them. Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I want that game. I want that like real time
I think
RTS.
I think we should talk to the Creative Assembly.
I think we should.
We should recommend that particular idea.
We need an RTS with.
I mean, they are Sega Creative Assembly.
They
now.
are Sega Creative Assembly, and I'm sure that means they'll be very
receptive to our ideas.
especially if they're Sonic based. Because
Absolutely.
they love putting Sonic in any old crap game.
Absolutely. Although not as much as Nintendo love putting Mario into
That is
any
true.
old crap
They
game.
they make Sonic games that are crap. They don't make just every other game in the world.
This
with
is true.
Sonic stuffed into it.
I mean, this will be the second game that Mario and Sonic are in together.
Indeed, and in fact, Sonic was the most requested character in
Of course.
Smash Brothers Brawl.
Who else?
I'm not sure who else, but I know Solid Snake was a quite high requested,
Yeah.
and you know Solid Snake is in it.
Yeah,
too,
I
isn't
know,
he?
I know. So that's cool.
He was the first non-Nintendo character to be in it, which makes Sonic the second.
Cool.
So
What other non-Nintendo characters would you want? You know, I'd be thinking maybe some of the Street Fighter characters myself.
maybe something
but-
like Spyro.
Yeah.
He's got to kind of fit, you know.
Well, yes, because Solid Snake really
No,
fits
see, actually,
in a
I
world
think
of-
Solid Snake is a bad idea. I don't think he should be in there. I think Sonic fits really nicely.
I think
but
Sonic fits
I don't really
beautifully.
think Solid Snake does. You know, cool and everything, but
Yeah, but then again, to be honest, Samus from
Samus
Metroid
didn't really fit either.
doesn't really fit either.
No.
But
Which
hey,
is still fun, and you
it
shoot
kind of
people.
takes away a little bit of the cutesy factor of the game.
Yeah,
but,
there's a few people that are less cutesy.
but seriously, I mean, I'm too old to really care anymore.
You know, it'd be
but the
fun.
hold on, let me finish.
No.
I'm too old to care, but the concept of actually battling Mario and Sonic in a
that
game
is kind of appealing.
is really, really cool. If I'd have known about this was going to happen, like 15 years ago when there was like the big, or 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, where it was like Sega versus Nintendo, Mario versus Sonic, this would have been awesome. Now it's just, hey, that's really cool.
Hey, it's cool, yeah, wow.
I
Am
mean,
I the only one?
they're already at the Olympics. I mean, you
Am
know.
I the only one who's not going to bet money on the plumber at the Olympics this particular game? Who are you going to bet on in a running race between a fat plumber and the fastest creature in the world? This is not a fair competition at all. Like, he could jump on bullets that were very large and moving quite slowly, but I couldn't see him winning a race against Sonic.
It is a good point.
The odds are stacked against him.
I
Let's
never
just
really
say
saw.
that.
Yeah, in an Olympic marathon or Olympic. Well, you
In
know
an
what?
Olympic race.
Olympic anything. Really.
Well, I don't know. Like, I mean, some of the other sports, like there's fencing, for example, and I've never really seen anything that suggests Sonic is an especially good fencer.
Or Mario.
No, but that's what I'm saying. They're both on relatively equal. Who would know?
I'd still say Sonic would be faster at fencing. Like,
I see what you mean. He would have the speed advantage in
yes,
overall.
he could
being
sort of
faster.
run behind him and stab him in the
Stab him
back.
in the bottom, and he got. Ooh,
Mamma mia!
Mamma mia! That's smart.
Although maybe hammer throw. I reckon Mario would probably have the
Mario
hammer
would
throw.
have the weight advantage for the hammer throw. People are not slim. They're
Yeah,
not of,
and he has experience with throwing hammers.
does he?
He does. In Super Mario Brothers 3, he
That's
can
right, he
acquire
did
the
too.
hammer
He could-
suit
He could acquire a hammer suit.
and throw hammers like the Hammer Brothers.
Now he could also do, for example, weightlifting and stuff. He could be the metal metal
you know
versions,
what?
and that would give him
Yes,
advantage
Mario,
in some areas.
Mario would be stronger than Sonic.
All right, he'd be stronger, so we'd give him the weightlifting and the Greco-Roman wrestling and stuff.
But
I'd
you
give
know,
him as well
but-
because of the weight.
I'll be completely honest though. If we're being totally realistic here, which is a stretch of the
I think
imagination
we've already
as
gone
it
too far for
starts,
that. So
I think Mario would be disqualified from the Olympics anyway.
for the performance-enhancing drugs,
Yes.
the mushrooms,
mushrooms,
would
that's
be a
right.
big factor.
So yeah.
And that's not subtle either.
No.
Like, they're going to do some random testing as soon as he gets 4 times his current size. You know, like, he walks in.
As soon as he can start shooting fireballs from his hands,
Yeah,
there's
like-
going to be some questions.
And he's going to walk in, he's going to be like, what's Mario, like 5'6", something like
Yeah.
that? He's going to walk over, he's going to like go over and check his bag and just kind of turn his back to the camera and he's going to turn back around and he's going to be like 20 foot tall and throwing fireballs out of his hands. And they're going to go, no, something happened there.
Something wrong here. I mean,
There was something in your bag, wasn't there?
but maybe that's the only way he can keep up with Sonic.
But Sonic at least has that advantage. However, Sonic became fast, and no one knows.
But you know what? At the end of the day, Sonic is a make-believe blue hedgehog.
Oh, which gives Mario the advantage, doesn't
He's
it?
a plumber. That's
Plumbers are real, true.
It's real.
so-
It's real. This is real. Don't ruin it for me. All right, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in on
And
this
listening
lovely,
to our
glorious
absolute
Saturday morning.
Crap.
I've enjoyed this podcast. I've had fun this podcast. People complained about our last podcast. I want to address that.
Do you?
Just because I think, well, people...
I have no opinion about what people think.
Yes, you don't, really?
Not really, not especially.
I do.
I think I'm awesome, so
it-
if anyone disagrees, they're
and-
clearly wrong.
I do, and it hurt me.
Oh, it hurt your soul.
It didn't hurt me, but there were a couple
hurt
of
me
things
right
brought
here.
up, and I do want to touch on these ideas and suggest. I think last week we were a little bit flat. We were a bit tired,
Yeah.
so I think that's fine, and that
Which
tends
is,
to
by
happen.
the way, one of the reasons we didn't do it like on time this week, because I was so tired I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So we decided that it would be better for everyone to wait and do it well than just get it out the door.
But a couple of suggestions actually came up, which is things we could do in the podcast to maybe make it a little bit more interesting or things like that. And I think maybe we should start doing that. Should we have regular segments?
Should we have segments? So one suggested segment was what's happening on the forum.
The problem is,
and the answer to that is always going to be trolling
yes,
and idiots.
yeah, pretty much.
And Joby being rude.
Yeah, Yeah. You know what? I don't like mentioning him in podcasts anymore. It's the equivalent of mentioning Jack Thompson on the front page post. Seriously.
I was going to do that. I was going to say, I had something else, Jack Thompson, and wait for you to get really
I ruined that
cranky.
for you.
No, well, I wasn't going to say anything after that. I was just going to go, it's fine.
Okay.
Because
but
he doesn't done much.
But yeah, look, that's... I don't know. Maybe we could ask something in the podcast and then put the question up on the forums and see what people...
We often do that, though.
That's a good point. Okay, maybe we could ask a question on the forums
maybe
and then talk about in the next
maybe
podcast.
we should do it the other way around, yeah.
Are we going to be not lazy enough to do that?
No, I think we can do that. That shouldn't take too much actual effort, so
Good.
I'm okay with it.
Cool. I'm a fan of that. But yeah, look, well, if you've got any suggestions or ideas, please understand and realise that we actually don't ever prepare anything for our podcast. Anyone that's ever been a guest, they can surely attest to the fact that up until 5 minutes before we start, we have no clue what we're going to talk about or do or how it actually works or anything like that. It is all completely spontaneous and ad-lib, which is why we have no idea why it actually works.
Yeah. Oh, well, I know, because I'm extremely funny.
Wow, you're just so humble.
I know.
God, you're just, yes.
I know, that's one of my many charms.
Really?
It's my extreme humility. Yeah. That's one of the things that is most attractive about me, is how just unaware I am of how awesome I am.
How unaware you are of how awesome you are.
Yeah, I'm both incredibly cool and humble.
I'm glad you let everyone know about that.
They already knew.
Oh, right, of course. Yeah. Of course they did. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll talk to you again next week.
Alright, bye-bye. I love you. That wasn't to them, that was to you.
You love me?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you?
No. I can't back that up.
Come on. Love me. No, no.
You're a little needy today, aren't you?
I'm not needy.
You're wanty.
Shut up. Leave me alone.
Alright, bye people.